this morning we are going to do some upper body strength and core work. That's the plan for today. And we'll probably end on our backs to stretch our hamstrings. So if you want to have a strap or a belt or a scarf handy for that, I think that's mainly the only prop that we'll use. So I've been thinking about thoughts to share today. Sometimes we're just not feeling it. And that's okay. I think, sometimes we'll get to a place where I figured things out. I finally figured things out, and this is how it's always going to be. But inevitably something shifts in our lives, or our hormones shift in our bodies. There's so many things that come into our experience. And so when we have those times where we feel like, I've got it figured out, we just need to realize that everything's temporary. I just pulled out some notes from a book called After the Ecstasy, The Laundry by Jack Kornfield. And he just talks about carrying spiritual experiences, enlightening experiences, transformative experiences back into the mundane parts of our everyday life. And he talks about a statue in Thailand, in Sukhothai, this great, big, huge Buddha, this big stone Buddha. But at one point, the monks that tended the temple there that had this huge stone, Buddha noticed that it was cracking and it really needed repair. It says, after a stretch of particularly hot, dry weather, one of the cracks became so wide that a curious monk took his flashlight and peered inside. What shone back at him was a flash of brilliant gold. Inside this plain old statue that was just, stone and layers of paint that was chipping and coming into disrepair, they saw that the inside, underneath those layers of mud and paint, it was the largest and most luminous of gold images. It was a solid gold Buddha, and it was huge. And now uncovered, that golden Buddha draws throngs of devoted pilgrims from all over Thailand. In much the same way, each of us has encountered threatening situations that lead us to uncover our innate nobility. Just as the people of Sukhothai had forgotten about the golden Buddha, we too have forgotten our essential nature. Much of the time, we operate from that protective layer. He says, who are you really? How do you answer that question? How do you answer that question in your head? How do you answer that question in the deepest parts of your heart? Is that a question you've asked of God? The answer I believe is that I am a child of God, that I'm a divine being, that I'm spiritual, a spiritual being having a physical experience. Does that mean I'm broken? Does it mean that I need to be fixed? No, it means that I have potential for growth, change, and transformation. Jack Kornfield says, we do not have to improve ourselves. We just have to let go of what blocks our hearts. When we forget who we are, that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience, that a lot of the trials we go through are just the efforts to kind of peel off that protective layer. We can become clouded. It's helpful for us just to sometimes sit in submission and just let the layers be peeled off and enjoy the times where we feel like we've got things figured out, and realize that it's not always going to be that way. Let's go ahead and start on our backs. And just, make yourself comfortable in a way that feels supportive for you. Hands on your belly might feel good, or just hands by your side, and just start to find some really gentle movement in your pelvis. Maybe just rocking a little bit from side to side. You could even think about kind of keeping your feet where they are, but steering your knees in little circles. So you're making a kind of a figure 8 shape on the floor with the back of your pelvis, just little rocks. There's not really a right or wrong. Maybe see if you can figure out how to switch directions. And then we'll start to find a neutral place there and move into some intentional pelvic tilts. So really push your lower back vertebrae into the floor to lift your tailbone up, and then rock the other way. Exaggerate that low back curve and push your pubic bone toward the floor. And just move back and forth there, maybe 2 or 3 times. And then as you feel ready, you can start to let the lift get a little bit bigger and just start coming up into a sequential bridge. Just working on lifting one vertebrae at a time. You don't even have to come up very high. Maybe just mid back and then come down. And then find that lumbar curve. Just let this be intuitive, moving through your pelvis and your spine. And maybe let those bridges start to get a little bit bigger. Do one more lift and lower. And pause there at the bottom, and then just reach your hands up toward the ceiling and make some fists, and then just open those fists. We're just gonna kind of do like flashers. Think of just making blinkers with your hands. So just fists, and then spread your fingers as wide as they can go and see how fast you can get. Do them in this position a few rounds, and then keep your low ribs down, reach your arms overhead, and just find that motion. Keep your fingers fisting and flaring out as fast as you can. And then reach arms straight out to the side just to hover over the floor. Keep making your fists and opening. Let your palms be face up toward the ceiling, and then internally rotate your arms and let your palms be facing the floor. And just keep that going. Keep that internal rotation of your arms. So the backs of your hands will float up toward each other. Keep going with your fingers, and then externally rotate your arms, turn your palms to face each other, and then release. Just kind of shake out your hands and release your fingers, and then turn your palms toward the ceiling. Just float your feet up off the floor, and then lengthen your legs up toward the ceiling, and then stretch those inside out hands above your head. Soften through your knees and your elbows, And then straighten through your knees and your elbows. And soften through your knees and your elbows. And then straighten through your knees and your elbows. Just do that a couple more times. Really push into your hands. One last push. And then release your arms out to a T on the floor. Find a bend in your knees. We're just going to rock from side to side into a twist, but you'll keep your shoulders grounded. Just drop your knees to your left. Just let them hover. And then come back to center and drop your knees to your right. Let them just hover and come back to center. So just back and forth. Right. Left. If you feel like your core is ready for more of a challenge, you can just lessen the bend in your knees and you'll kind of have a bigger lever. See if you can move right from your center. Right. Left. And going to the right. And then hold on to the backs of your thighs. And we'll just roll up and see if you can find some balance. And then roll back again. And let's just do that a couple of times. Roll up and find some balance. And then roll back. Roll up and find some balance. And roll back. Roll up and find some balance. And then we'll just plant our feet down and roll over onto your left side. Bring your left forearm down. And bend through that left knee and lengthen out through your right leg. And we'll just start with some shoulder work here. So just let yourself sink into that left shoulder and then push the floor away. So feel your shoulder blade elevate up towards your ear and then depress by pushing your elbow down. Just warming through that shoulder. There. Sink in and then push the floor away so you're really lengthening there. Ground through this left knee and just lift your hips. Reach that right arm up and then just lower that left hip down and then lift it up. Lower it down and lift it up. Lower it down, lift it up. Let's do that one more time. And then hold at the top. Take your right arm and just thread past your left ribs and then open back up. Right arm, thread past, open back up. Right arm, thread past, open back up. Last time. Right arm, and then open. Drop that left hip down and just roll back into your boat pose. You can hold on to the backs of your legs and just pause. We'll flip over onto the other side, onto your right side. So bring that right forearm down. And your right knee can be bent. Just shrug that right shoulder up towards your ear and then push it away. And then shrug it up and push it away. Shrug it up and push it away. This time, push it away and hold, and then lift that right hip up off the floor, and then lower, and then lift, and lower, lift, and lower, lift, and lower. This time lift and pause there. And then take your left hand and then just throw it past your right ribs. And then open up. And not twist. And open. And twist. And open. Last time. open. Lower that hip down. Roll back into your boat pose. Maybe this time you let go of your legs. Lengthen up through your heart. And then cross your ankles and just rock forward onto hands and knees. Hands on the floor. And then we're going to kind of sit back on our knees. We're not all the way in a child's pose, but just think of your torso being at about a 45-degree angle. Your hands are on the floor here. And we're going to find cat and cow just with the thoracic spine. So your pelvis and your low back are all going to stay stable. I want you to think about just moving right from your sternum. So pull your sternum in and see if you can flex just around through that rib cage spine. And then let your sternum come forward. You can almost feel like you're dragging your hands back without moving them anywhere. It's going to be small, subtle movement. But just see if you can find this just in your upper spine. Flexing, you can feel like you're pushing the floor away, and then extending, you can feel like you're dragging your hands back. Let's just do one more. And then just find the middle place, the neutral place, and look at the wrinkles in your wrists here. And see if you can flex your wrists a little more to bring your fingers and palms up off the floor. And then just let your fingers come down and just tap here. You're just lifting and lowering. And then you can lift your hips. Keep your elbows totally straight. Maybe walk your hands a little forward and lift your hips. I try to keep your elbows straight, so I can't come very far forward, keeping my elbows straight. You could maybe even come all the way into a table. Just keep tapping, tapping, and tapping. And then release that. Come all the way into a table, and turn your palms face up, fingers facing the center. And just kind of rock from side to side here. Stretch out those forearms from that effort. And then palms are face up. Bend your elbows out to the side and lower your heart down and then push. And do that 2 more times. Lower down. Try to keep your thumbs wide. And then unflip your hands, bring your palms to the floor. Tuck your toes and just float your knees up. Feel that integration through your center. And then let your knees come down. And tuck your toes. Keep your hands where they are and just rock your heart forward. Bend your elbows to lower part way down and then come back up and then come to neutral. Just gonna move through that. So you're gonna rock forward, bend your elbows, push into your hands, straighten your arms, and then back to neutral. And just breathe. And you can play with the angle of your elbows as you lower. Just notice what that feels like in your elbows, in your shoulders. If you let them go out to the side, if you keep them right alongside your rib cage. Let's do 2 more. And last one. And then push back into a child's pose. Let your arms go long and just let your palms face up and really think about reaching those thumbs toward the floor. Spreading your fingers wide. And then you can release the effort in your hands. Just make fists and just find some circles of your wrists here. Make your way back into your table. Hands right underneath your shoulders. Tuck your toes. Float your knees so they're just hovering above the floor. We're going to do a little crawl toward the back of our mat. So you're going to step your left foot back and your your left hand back and right foot. And then right hand, left foot. And just a little creep with your knees hovering. And then once you get to the back of your mat, just find your little creep, crawl up toward the top of your mat. Just keep going back. And then when you get back, just pause. And you might step your hands a little bit further forward, maybe about a hand print, knees bent, hovering, and then just straighten your legs and rock yourself forward into a plank. And the knees hover and rock into a plank. Knees hover, rock into a plank. Knees hover, rock into a plank, and then lift your hips up and back. Find a downward facing dog. And collect your breath here. And find some external rotation of your upper arms. And feel like maybe you're squeezing your hands toward each other without moving them anywhere. And then rock back, forward into your plank, and bring your knees to the floor. Push into your hands to spread your shoulder blades apart, and then draw your shoulder blades together. So this isn't happening in your spine, it's happening in your shoulder blades. Push the floor, shoulder blades come apart, and then let your shoulder blades come together. And do that a couple more times there. Push the floor away, let your shoulder blades come together, and then see if you can shrug them up towards your ears. And then spread them wide, and then draw them back towards your hips and let them come together. Lift your shoulder blades up. So we're kind of making a rectangle with our shoulder blades. And see if you can use the muscles around your shoulder blades and not use trapezius muscles in your neck to move there. So just move slow, it's an experiment. And then see if you can switch directions. And push back into a child's pose. Keep your hands where they are. And then from here, rock forward, tuck your toes, and just float into a plank. And we'll just move back and forth there a few times. Child's pose into a plank. And do that one more time. Child's pose to plank. And now, if you want to challenge yourself a little more, you can keep your knees hovering and push back and come into a plank. Another option is to come into bent elbows as you come forward and come into a chaturanga. And you can have your knees down and come forward and just float your knees up. Let's just do one more. And come forward either into plank or elbows halfway bent, and then come all the way onto your belly. Reach your arms far forward in front of you. Push into your pubic bone, but just let your chin or your forehead stay on the floor. Push into all 10 toes. Let your palms face each other, and your hands are just shoulder distance apart. And just reach your arms up, away from the floor, and then lower. And just move there a few times. Lift and lower, and lift and lower, lift and lower, lift and lower. This time when you lift, you can lift both legs, lift both arms, lift your head and chest, but really think about getting long from your toes out through your fingertips and lengthening through your lower back. One more breath, and then lower down. Hands underneath your shoulders. Push yourself up through a table and find downward facing dog. And just breathe there. Inhale onto your tippy toes, look forward. Exhale to find a bend in your knees and just take a walk up to the top of your mat. Inhale and halfway lift. When you get there, look forward. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way to standing, reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart. And then bend into your knees, find a chair pose. And zip up your lower belly. Find length in your lower back. Let those low front ribs stay dropped in. And then reach your arms alongside your ears. And just pause. You can really feel like you're lifting your toes up off the floor. Bring some weight into your heels. And then just bring your left hand outside your right knee, right hand to your sacrum and find a twist to your right. Look down at that right foot. Just float that left heel towards your bum. And then step back. Find a twisted high lunge here. So left hand outside that right knee, right hand's on your sacrum. Push into that left big toe ball mound behind you. And then we'll cartwheel ourselves open into warrior two. Just ground that back heel and open up here. And then from your center, just think about just moving your rib cage from side to side. Shift that rib over, your ribs towards your right leg, and then shift your ribs towards your left leg. Try to keep your lower body still. And you can bring your hands to your rib cage. Just kind of find that movement. There. And then shift your ribs back toward that back leg. Drop your left hand toward that left thigh. Reverse your warrior here. And then straighten that right leg as you shift your rib cage over to the right. Just let this right arm hover in a triangle pose. And we'll move through those two. So find that reverse, and then find that hovering triangle pose. And really think of this movement radiating from your center. Let's do one more. And then come just up to warrior two. Straighten both legs and then turn heels in, toes out, face the long edge of your mat, and sit down into a high squat. Open your arms out into a cactus. And then soften those lower ribs in. Imagine you've got a wall behind you. The backs of your hands and the backs of your head, the back of your heart, the back of your pelvis can touch that wall. Just hold here for one more breath. And straighten both legs, release your arms. Find that warrior two to the right again. And then cartwheel your left hand down, lift your left heel. Just find a big open twist here. And find some external rotation of this left upper arm. Feel like you're kind of unscrewing a jar lid with that left hand on the floor. And just feel that strength through that left arm. Right hand down. Inhale to plank. And find your stability here. Lower yourself all the way to the floor. So feel like you're pulling your hands back and then pulling the floor towards you to come down. Float your hands back behind you. Push into your pubic bone. Lengthen through the back of your neck. Lift everything up. Take one more breath there. And then hands underneath your shoulders and tuck your toes. You can push yourself straight up into a plank or into table. And then find downward facing dog. And just enjoy your breath there. One more breath. Inhale onto your tippy toes. Exhale to bend your knees. And take a pretty slow walk. See if you can heel toe, heel toe, heel toe your way up to the top of your mat. Let your feet be parallel. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way to standing. Reach high. Exhale, hands to your heart. Inhale and reach high. And then sit back in your chair. And just organize yourself in a really stable way. Feel that weight in your heels. Maybe even lift your toes and really turn on your shins here. And then left hand to your sacrum, right hand outside that left knee. And keep your knees still tracking over your second toes. Don't let them knock together as you're finding this twist. Look down at your left foot. Float your right heel towards your bum. And then step back. And find your twisted lunge here. You can resist your left outer knee into that right hand. And then we'll cartwheel open into warrior two. And let yourself settle. You can find a little bit of movement in your pelvis first. And then let your lower body be still. Shift your ribs to the left. And then shift your ribs to the right. Shift your ribs to the left. Ribs to the right. Just go back and forth there. Hands wherever is helpful for you. And see if you can move just your rib cage without having to move your pelvis. Shift the ribs to the right. Drop your right hand. Lift that left arm. Find your reverse warrior. And then straighten your left leg. And just find a floating triangle pose. So still think of that rib shift as you reach back. Lengthen through that front leg. Find that rib shift as you open into your triangle. Let's do one more time. Triangle. And then come into your warrior two. And then shift toward the long edge of your mat, heels in, toes out. And sit down in your goddess squat. So drop those low ribs down. And then imagine you've got a wall behind you. The back of your pelvis, the back of your heart, the back of your head, and the back of your hands are there. And now we're just gonna play with some internal and external rotation of our arms. Turn around here. So keep your elbows the height they are and just rotate. So high five behind you, and then push your hands back. Rotate here. Let's do one more. And then lengthen out. Find your warrior two to the left. And then cartwheel right hand down, lift that left heel. And then find that external rotation of this grounded arm. So you're turning your elbow crease to point about the same direction as your fingers. And on this side, it feels like you're tightening a jar lid with that right hand without moving it anywhere. Lift your left arm up. And one more breath there. Really feel that stability through your shoulder and that external rotation of that arm. Cartwheel your left hand down. Find your plank pose. Feel like you're dragging your hands back, your feet forward. Pull the floor forward toward you to come down. Keep your hands where they are, but then just float them up off the floor. And draw those shoulder blades together. And then you can plant your hands again. Keep that engagement in your back body. And lift into your cobra. Feel like you're dragging your hands back. And exhale. Downward facing dog. And just kind of scan through your body here. Feel the stability through your shoulders. And then inhale onto your tippy toes, look forward. Exhale to bend your knees and then slowly walk toward the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Bend into your knees, inhale right up into your chair pose. And then exhale, just bring your left hand back, your right hand back, left hand forward. And then either left hand to your outer knee or left elbow this time. And find your twist here in your chair. Try to keep your knees in line with each other. And draw that belly in, lengthen through the crown of your head. Look at that right foot. Float your left heel up towards your bum. Step back into your twist, into your lunge, your twisted lunge. Just pause. And then we'll cartwheel ourselves open into warrior two. Ground your left heel. Open out. Reverse that warrior. And then straighten your right leg, pour yourself into just a hovering triangle. Reverse. And then hover. Just one more time. Reverse. And then hover. Come into warrior two. And then find that goddess squat. Open into your cactus arms. Right elbow underneath, give yourself a hug. And then you can find backs of your hands together or fingers into your palms if that feels good. And sway a little from side to side. And then lengthen. Find your warrior two again. Cartwheel that left hand down. Lift your left heel. This time rotate onto the pinky edge of that left foot. Find that external rotation of your upper left arm. You can turn your right toes to the right and just find a modified side plank here. Or you could step this right foot in line with your left or stack it on top. One more breath. And then right hand down. Straight back to downward facing dog. Breath in and a breath out. Inhale onto your tippy toes. Exhale. Walk to the top of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Bend into your knees. Inhale, reach your arms up. Find that twist. Reach your left arm back, right arm forward. And then right hand to your outer knee, left hand to your sacrum, or right elbow. You can bring your hands together. Look down at your left foot. Float that right heel up off the floor, and then send it back into your twisted lunge. Rotate that right heel down, open yourself up into your warrior two. Shift those ribs back, reverse your warrior. Straighten that left leg, and pour yourself into your hovering triangle. Back, and triangle. And back, and triangle. Come back up into your warrior two, and then find that goddess squat. Heels in, toes out, and find your cactus arms. Then left elbow under right, give yourself a big hug, and then you can move into your eagle arms. Sink a little lower. Unwind your arms. Find your warrior two again. Cartwheel that right hand down. Lift your right heel and feel stable through that right arm. Find that external rotation of that upper arm. Your elbow crease is pointing forward. Your fingertips are squeezing the floor. Come on the pinky toe edge of that right foot. Maybe just walk that left foot partway down your mat. Or you can step that left foot in line with your right or stack. And make your way to downward facing dog. And then just bring your knees to the floor. And then bring your forearms to the floor. Bring them together in a prayer, or you can interlace your fingers, whichever feels good to you. Push your outer wrists into the floor. Tuck your toes. And then lift your knees up and reach your hips up and back. So we're in a dolphin pose. And you might walk your toes in just a little. Looks like downward facing dog, but your forearms are on the floor. Really push your outer wrists into the floor. Just take one more breath here. And then tiptoe your legs back till you come into a forearm plank. And just find the length. Shorten that space between your lowest ribs and the top rim of your pelvis. Push your outer wrists into the floor. Then just bend and tap your right knee to the floor and then lift it. And bend and tap your left knee. And just go back and forth there. And bend and tap. And bend and tap. Let's do one more on each side. And then knees down. Push yourself back into a child's pose. And just collect your breath. You can rock your head from side to side. Walk your hands back towards your knees. Just shift your hips over to the left and swing your right leg out. I'm going to kind of scoot to the middle of my mat. The left foot comes to the inner right thigh. And bend this right knee enough that your pelvis is upright. And then you can turn toward that right knee. Feel like you're pulling your heel back towards your bum to fold yourself forward and then push it away. Just kind of find this wave here. Let's do that one more time. And then bring yourself into your forward fold and stay. And push the back of your knee toward the floor now. Lengthen through your heart. And then you can find a little sense of a twist. Maybe bring that left hand outside your left knee, calf, ankle, foot. And then go ahead and come on up. Just bring this left knee straight up and then cross your left foot outside your right knee. And to start, just wrap your right elbow around your left knee and just interlace your fingers. Push that left knee into your right forearm and feel that lengthen up through your spine and the crown of your head and drop this left sitting bone toward the floor. And you can stay here, or you could bring your right elbow outside that left knee, ground your left hand behind you, and twist. Look over your back shoulder, and then turn to look over your front shoulder. Look at that left foot, and then push into your left fingertips behind you. Just stretch the outer neck there. Unwind your head, and then unwind your spine. Uncross this left leg, just plant it to the floor. And then plant your right hand behind you, turn your fingers away from you, and find that external rotation of the upper arm bone in your shoulder socket. And then just push into that left foot, right hand, stretch up. You're gonna aim your heart toward the ceiling, lengthen through that left arm. And then go ahead and lower down. And we'll just switch to the other side. Left leg long, right foot to your left inner thigh. Knees and toes point straight up. You can find a bend in your knee enough to keep your pelvis upright. And then feel like you're pulling your heel toward you to bring your heart forward and then push it away and come on up. Just find that little wave there. Pull yourself forward and then let yourself stay. And you can lengthen the back of that knee toward the floor any amount. Keep thinking about lengthening through your spine. Maybe right hand comes outside of that left knee or shin or ankle. And you can drop those right ribs toward your left inner thigh. But keep thinking about lengthening through your sternum. Let's take one more round of breath there. And then come on up. And take that right knee straight up and cross it outside of your left knee. Wrap your left elbow around that right knee, interlace your fingers, and then push your elbow in, push your knee into your forearm, lengthen your spine. Drop that right sitting bone toward the floor. And stay there. You can bring your left elbow outside that right knee, plant your right fingertips behind you. Just leverage yourself into a little more of a twist, but just let this feel okay in your spine. So this hugging here is a good place to be. And then wherever you are, turn and look over that front shoulder. Look down at that right foot and push into those right fingertips behind you. Unwind your head, unwind your body, uncross that right leg, just place it to the floor, just in line with your sitting bone. Plant your left hand behind you, turn those fingers away, find that external rotation, push into your right foot, push into that left hand and lift yourself up. Reach that right arm up, maybe aim your heart toward the ceiling. And then go ahead and come down. And bend both knees. You can grab onto the backs of your thighs or just float your hands forward and lower down. Just see if you can bring the back of your sacrum down and then come back up. And then this time lower down just a little bit more, back of your sacrum, and then your lowest vertebrae, and then come back up. And this time, just one vertebrae at a time. See how slowly you can lower down. Lower back. Lower back. Upper back. And then pause. Bring your feet hip distance apart, just hip width. And just bring them close enough to your bum that you can almost touch them with your fingers. Set yourself up for a round of bridge that you'll hold. So just draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Okay. And then you can find a slight sense of back bend by exaggerating that lower back curve. And then push into your feet and just lift your hips. Now feel like you're aiming your tailbone in the same direction as your knees. Draw those shoulder blades together. Keep your gaze straight up at the ceiling. You might grab outer edges of your mat and really push firm your triceps into the floor, or you can interlace your fingers underneath you and make that tripod underneath you. Find a sense of pulling your heels back towards your shoulders. Use your glutes and your hamstrings as support. Draw those shoulder blades together. Find space in your throat. And just feel your breath. See if you can really find that diaphragmatic breath here. And then release your fingers, just gently roll yourself down. And take your feet as wide as your mat and just windshield wiper those legs from side to side. Your knees come over to the left. You can just let them stay there and drop. Maybe even stack that left heel on top of your right knee. You could look to your right. Move that right arm in a place that feels like you've got a nice line of tension. And then if you've got that left heel stacked on top of your right knee, just unstack it. Come back through center and then just windshield wiper to the other side. You can stack that right knee on top of your right heel on top of your left knee. And then maybe look out to the left. Unstack that heel. Come back to center. Any last movements that would feel good for you? Actually, we're going to stretch our hamstrings here. This is my plan. So if you'd like to, you can straighten your right leg and loop your strap over. Just pause. So you can find the natural curves of your spine. And always grab the back of your leg anywhere. But feel that just natural curve under your lower back. Your rib cage is on the floor and the back of your pelvis is on the floor. Just one more breath there. And then switch sides. And just lengthen through that left leg. You can loop a strap over your foot or, a belt or a towel so you're holding it. You can hold onto the back of your leg. But let's have a neutral spine here. So back of your head and the whole back of your rib cage is on the floor. Back of your pelvis is on the floor, but you've got a little bit of space under your lower back. And just one more breath. And then release. Just hug both knees into your chest. You can find little rocks from side to side. You can take your hands on your knees and just steer your knees in circles. One way and then the other. And release your legs to the floor and set yourself up for your final rest. If you've got a couch nearby, it might feel good to do legs on the couch. Just scoot your bum over there and then put your lower legs on the seat. Get your wiggles out. And let yourself be still. In this world, there is the polarity, the opposition in all things. And we're going to have times where we feel light and life is easy and things go well. And then we're going to have times where we just feel like we're walking through quicksand. And it doesn't mean anything has gone wrong. All these experiences help just chip off those layers of aged paint and needless armor. Because we're looking for that gold inside that's always been there, it's always existed. Just letting go. Let your body relax even deeper. Your face, just let the floor support you. Notice if you're finding any tension in your shoulders or neck, just see if you can relax all the way down the length of your arms and your fingers. You're ready to come out. Just bring your hands to your face. You can push your palms on your eyes. Use your fingers in your hairline. Give yourself a little massage. Massage your forehead, temples, sides of your jaw, your ears. Just kind of nurture yourself back into the start of your day. Find an easy bend in your knees. Just roll to one side. You can pause there. And push yourself up to a comfortable seat. I hope that woke you up today. I hope your spine and your core and your upper body feel strong. The divine light in me honors the divine light in you. Namaste.